Hello and welcome to Solana Breakpoint Day 2. And Huddle Up team is here with Danny Nelson from Bitwise. Well, Danny, thank you for finding the time to join us today, and we're really happy to have you here.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and talk to us, man. Let's go through your crypto journey. Like, I know you were ex CoinDesk, but tell us about how you entered the space and your journey to being uh, the research guy in Bitwise.
Yeah, so I started playing around with Bitcoin in 2015, 2016. Stuck around, got more excited about things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP into 2017. Bought the right things, turned into the wrong things, round trip, many such cases. Then I didn't think about crypto too much until 2019. Joined CoinDesk, started writing about everything from how companies were using blockchains to track lettuce, to tokenization early on in that arc. Started writing about Solana really seriously in 2021, and I became CoinDesk's chief Solana reporter. Been to basically every breakpoint ever since. In April this year, I joined the research team just because after those years of watching a crypto grow, I realized that this really was an institutional moment for the asset. With things like ETFs coming online and changing regulations, there was no point in crypto's history better than this one to explore this asset class from the perspective of the big money, so to speak.
Yeah, so you mentioned 2021. That's when you became the chief Solana reporter and everything.
Yes.
I want to ask you about we remember 2021 and then early 2022 when Solana was really having a hard time. So how was that for you? How did you experience it from the reporting side? Because I personally didn't believe that much in Solana. This guy was in my ear talking about no, you have to buy Solana. They're going to come back. They're going to come back. I was like, nah, this is not going to be as it is today. And now I'm a firm believer that it's going to go Solana's going places. I mean, it's the institutional level adoption is just crazy. So how was it for you? How did you experience that? And how much did you believe that Solana will actually make it?
Yeah, well, I was back as a reporter. I wasn't looking I wasn't really asking myself, will this or will this not make it? I was just more thinking, how am I going to tell the story? But at that point in time was an important one for Solana. We're just for reference, we're talking about the period before FTX, which was its own trial period for Solana. But there was a very long period where Solana would crash, would go offline, blocks would stop being built, and this happened many times, 4 or 5 times over the course of a year or two, and it was a big issue for Solana. And being a reporter at the time, it meant a lot of going into the discords, talking to validators, making those relationships, looking at when the market fell, when the network fell over, seeing the coordination take place in Google Docs. Sometimes people saying, "All right, we're going to restart at this block height," but from that point, I mean, we haven't seen a network outage in well over a year at this point, and the developer efforts that have gone into making Solana not just work but work really well, it's tremendous. Like today, we saw on stage Kevin Bowers from Jump Crypto talk about Fire Dancer, which is finally really starting to pay off. We have Double Zero building specialty fiber optic networks so that the network can run faster. We have the Anza team and the Solana Foundation working on Alpenglow, a new consensus mechanism. And so what really stands apart for me for Solana relative to other assets is that pace of change, that rate of change. Like, yes, it's true that in the past the blockchain has stopped working, and that is not acceptable if financial markets are going to come online as we think will take place. But the fact that there's been that iteration and been that development has been really important and informative for the growth of the network.
Yeah, and it rose from the ashes basically multiple times, and that's why I think people still stick with Solana. Like more and more people are joining, and I know that a lot of people didn't like the meme coin cycle at all. I'm one of those people. I'm people.
So purist or Puritan.
Yeah, I mean. But still, the likes of Pumfun did a lot of justice in the sense that they stress tested the ecosystem. It really showed that it can handle that many transactions. It can handle that amount of volume. But I'm glad to see that Solana is now more and more today is looking more professional in the sense that not going like into the traditional route, but like becoming, a serious player, right? I mean, with the likes of Bitwise supporting the Solana ecosystem as well. So I just want to ask you, like, how has this change been, throughout the years? Going from like the yacht disco place to the network that congested quite a lot of time, and then to basically a meme casino area, and now today.
Yes, like they don't use crypto terms in their bio because they're just internet capital markets now, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to onboard everyone, and that's how was the journey?
Yeah, well, I think branding is really important in everything, and crypto in particular, because we're basically at this inflection point where the people who are in are already in, and there's going to be some more people who become degens, so to speak, who really make their lives and their culture around crypto, as many people here have done. But what we're seeing now, I mean, to talk more about like meme coins, it's hard for me to say one way or the other whether that's good or bad. I certainly think that meme coins is not the best way to grow your capital. It is a fun way to waste some time. I've done it myself. I've played around on Pump Fun, but it's important because it brings people in. It gets people to set up a wallet. It gets people to buy some SOL. It gets people to maybe think, okay, well, I just lost $100 on I don't even know what, but I have some capital left over. Maybe there's some staking. I can earn 7% interest. Oh, that's really interesting. And getting them on board and then getting them more interested. But then to your other point about, to return to the branding, it's really important that Solana and that all of crypto finds ways to tell its story beyond the jargony terms that we use, and to make
degen terms.
The degen terms. I mean, the degen terms are important, and it's like the bedrock, the trenchers.
Yeah.
You can build civilization on top of the trenchers.
Yeah, exactly.
But the way that crypto's going, I mean, the most interesting story right now for me is the institutional space. It might not be as it's crazy, but that's also a good thing. It's a sign of the maturity.
Yeah, but before like we get into the institutional side, do you think, because I have a lot of friends that got into crypto because of meme coins and the likes of Pump Fun and stuff, but they lost money, obviously, because only like 0.07% of people.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, made money.
It's not good.
So, and they got cold feet from crypto, and they never want to go back. So, I don't my opinion is that it was the worst way to be, to have that as a starting point in crypto. Because when he joined crypto, we were back in 2020, everyone was building something. There were less than 10,000 altcoins in total in the market. So yes, it was easy to make money because the liquidity was dispersed in less assets. But still, people were building.
Yeah. So nowadays, the most important way for crypto to grow, for Solana to grow, really is those real use cases and stuff like real world assets, taking financial instruments that exist out in the ether, not on the Ethereum, but out in the ether, and finding ways to make them more useful. If you take something that doesn't have a lot of liquidity because it doesn't have the right venue, but you tokenize it, you put it on Solana. Now all of a sudden, maybe you won't find those buyers immediately, but it might be easier to trade them and to borrow and lend against them, and so you can make assets more useful and you can move them around a lot faster. So I was speaking earlier today whether tokenization makes something more valuable. It doesn't really make any given asset more valuable. What it does is it gives that asset more potential to unlock the value.
So it makes it basically more accessible.
Yeah, it makes it more accessible. It makes it more useful.
Yeah. So I'm a really big fan. Let's say I really like RWAs and Deepin. But in your opinion, I mean, this is a personal opinion. What sector of crypto do you think could be the next one to come up? Because right now, I know many Deepin projects who have millions of users, right? They're bringing new people in, and they don't even know they're being onboarded to crypto. They're using their apps, but they don't know that those are essentially crypto apps. So, apart from Deepin, do you think any of the other sectors in crypto stands a chance when compared to Deepin? Because I think Deepin has the most value at the time right now with the technology and with the people that we have to keep on onboarding normies. So
yeah, Deepin has the clearest path forward to growing in that seamless way. I was speaking to HiveMapper yesterday, and they're building a mapping service that creates real valuable data that companies are willing to pay for. the companies might not care or even know that the way that HiveMapper is collecting this data is through incentivizing people through having a token to put a camera in their car and go out on the roads and drive. But that's how they're doing it, and the result is a valuable product. And that's the path forward. So, yeah, DePIN has a special growth trajectory. Stable coins as well, I would say, because like regulation in the U.S. Being the market leader. I hate to focus on the U.S. when we're in Dubai in Abu Dhabi, but things like the Genius Act in the U.S. will really help stablecoin growth accelerate once the Genius Act comes online in about a year. So it's about finding ways for companies, businesses, governments, well, not governments, but companies and businesses to have their own cryptocurrencies, to have it more useful, and to unlock those payment opportunities.
Yeah, and I think stable coins have the clearest, not on par with DePIN, but like stable coins have the clearest use case right now, like transferring money everywhere. And I mean, I'm not from Abu Dhabi, so when we came here, when you think about it, if I need to send some money back home, the easiest way would be to do it through stablecoins. And if I use banks, it would be a bit harder, right? So let's go to the institutional part of like Bitwise, let's say. What do you think about the institutionalization of crypto right now, especially like Solana? Like, I like it, but I think there's quite some ethos issues. But that's the question.
No, it's a fair point. I mean, right, the one thing that you have to think about with the reason to back up, the reason why I got into crypto, into Bitcoin was I thought it was really cool that there was permissionless money, that is peer-to-peer electronic payments. Of course, that's not what Bitcoin is anymore. It was arguably financialized long ago. It still is this decentralized network, but we can't mine from our laptops. It just exists in the world. And so I think the best way to look at this is a natural evolution, and one that doesn't necessarily cannibalize what already exists. Like the fact that there's an ETF doesn't change that you or I could go buy Sol and do stake it ourselves, run our own nodes. Maybe if we're up to it, run our own validators, play around with it, borrow land in DeFi. That all of that is still doable. What ETFs do it allows people who really want to participate in this revolution, but they don't want to take that burden on themselves. That's the opportunity there.
Yeah, well, I feel like people just fear that maybe the people are losing control, in having a say on what happens with with this network in particular. And like I've seen so many tweets, for example, whenever there's a price decline, they immediately finger point, for example, at big institutions like, I don't know, like any ETF company, for example. So how do we convince them that that's not necessarily the case?
Well, I'll just talk about the ETFs for a second and BSOL. So we have Bitwise. We have the BSOL, the Solana staking ETF. It launched about maybe 2 months ago in the U.S. It's been, I think it's gathered $600 million in assets, even more than that, over a period of time where Solana has declined. I don't know what the price where Solana was when the ETF launched. I do know that the market's fallen a lot from there, but almost every day as that's declined, you've seen inflows. You've seen more people buying than selling. And so just from that, it's clear that it's not an ETF selling that's causing the decline. That sell pressure is coming from somewhere else. And so that's one piece to look at it. But another way to think about it is, well, money comes in and money comes out. And the reason why, like supply and demand, if there's more demand, then it's for a scarce asset, then the price will rise. And if there's less demand, then it will fall. And so just because the price is falling, it doesn't mean that institutions specifically are selling. And if they are, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because the institutional participation is one of the big reasons why crypto is going where it's going. Another thing to think about on that point is like how much volatility we see in the space. And over time, crypto is becoming less volatile. It's hard to think about that when you see, a 30% drawdown in a very short period of time. But if you look at Bitcoin over a long time, it's the volatility is falling, and we expect it at Bitwise to continue to fall as more institutions come online. So it does change the nature of the space, but it doesn't fundamentally change everything about how it works.
Yeah, and people like tend to forget some things because I remember in the past there was still a question whether this will be a thing in the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And like I remember like January 2024, I still remember the day. It was one of the happiest days of my life when the, ETFs were approved. For two reasons. One, because I finally made some money with leverage trading. I just longed everything.
There you go.
But the second one was that because I knew that now
The more important one.
this industry is here to stay. Bitcoin is here to like, Bitcoin is now in Wall Street, right? And it's like you can't just take it out of there, because before that there were still some concerns, someone will pull the plug out, and but like
yeah, Satoshi will come online.
Yeah, no, Satoshi's hopefully for the sake of everyone, Satoshi will stay disappeared.
Yes, we please.
No, yeah, it's very true. Like the fact that ETFs exist and the fact that institutions are participating is a sign that this has gotten too big to just be ignored. We are well past the point where there's any real fear that this is going south. Like our long-term view of this entire space is really positive because we think that this is a true alternative asset that has asymmetric appeal to investors.
Yeah. So, do you think that, like, not just Bitcoin, we can name all the other ETFs that are currently, we can name all the other ETFs that are currently alive. Will those assets continue to be decentralized? And do you think, this is a personal opinion, by the way, do you think that they can continue to be decentralized and work towards more decentralization through institutionalization as well? Like, will that be a barrier? I mean, I know many people who said, just as Dran said, who say that institutionalization will be a problem for the decentralization part. But I think there can be a middle ground maybe. So what do you think? Like,
well, I think that decentralization of the network and ownership of the coin are two related but separate things. So to talk about Bitcoin, Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy strategy, it owns, I don't know, 2% of all the Bitcoin. And his intent is to own all the Bitcoin. Leaving that strategy aside, the fact that Michael Saylor wants to buy everyone's Bitcoin doesn't make Bitcoin. It centralizes ownership, or it's a force that pushes ownership towards him. But the Bitcoin network, which is to say the miners that power the network, it's still, this mining operation in Texas, this one in Bhutan, it's still decentralized. It's hard to generalize because each network approaches decentralization in a different way. But I think that point broadly stands across all of the networks. Like, just because you have more of the coin doesn't mean it's more. Now, it's true though for proof of stake networks like Solana, like Ethereum, like most networks. When you have more of the coin and you stake it to one place, it does centralize. It does you do accumulate control. But I don't have too much of a worry that institutionalization is going to push crypto in a way that it wouldn't ultimately go. Like, what if we tell ourselves that the goal is for these assets to eat the world, then there's no way that it eats the world unless the world decides to participate in the way that it has for every other asset class. So, yeah.
Now, going back to Bitwise, I know you guys do a lot of research reports as well, and given that you're the research guy, so there's some forecasts there as well. I would be lying if I said that I read the reports, but like I did skim a bit through them. But I want to hear from you, like, what are some of those forecasts, and what should we expect, like, and the factors as well?
So one thing to stay tuned for, we're working on our annual predictions piece. So we're going to have 10 predictions for what will happen with crypto in 2026. That's going to be a mix of price predictions. It's going to be a mix of what we think is going to happen in the industry, like what sorts of activities will happen, who's going to be adopting, what kinds of things they're building. So that should be coming out in a couple weeks' time. That's one big piece that people should look forward to. Other things that we've talked about recently, like we have a firm view that Bitcoin is going to go to over $1 million by 2035. And that's just by looking at where it is today and how we assume institutions and just asset managers, all these individuals are going to change their allocations. If you say right now, okay, well, everyone should have a 1% allocation, we think that that's going to become the norm, but also become like the smaller number. We think that 5% is a more likely outcome for these institutions and for the whole world of investing. And in that world, if you model it out, the number that we've come to is 1.3 million by 2035. That's where we think Bitcoin has a very reasonable chance of going.
Yeah, I've seen some news articles about some banks in Switzerland, like urging their users to, I mean, not urging, just suggesting that they invest up to 2% of their wealth into Bitcoin. But yeah, like, yes, we have Bitcoin, the institutional coin and everything, but what about Solana? Like, do you think that it will reach the same level of adoption, since like Bitcoin is a digital gold, but what's the position of Solana here?
Yeah, well, exactly. Bitcoin we view Bitcoin as a digital gold, as a store of value asset. And so our understanding of it is through that lens. Solana is different because its proposition is not to be a store of value. Its proposition is to be like an internet capital markets platform, is to be the home for all these things. And so, I don't know. We don't have a firm number right now. We don't have a prediction for where Solana is going, but we are very bullish on Solana because we think that it is a really well-positioned chain because it's so fast and cheap to capture that business.
So now I want to hear from you, on this, like, what do you think about AI and like the is it just a hype? Is it like a bubble, some people are saying, or is it here to stay? Is it going to be dystopian? Will robots start fighting us? Like, I just want to hear, the institutional take on this,
The institutional take. So I will say, Bitwise is the number one crypto asset manager. This is not investment advice, but also we don't focus on AI. So my opinion on AI is no better than anyone else on the street. I will say that one thing to think about with the intersection of AI and trading, AIs, by a different name, have been running algorithmic trading for years now. That's already happened, and happened a long time ago. Now what we're seeing with AI is generative AI. Is you put in a natural language prompt, and it generates whatever you want. That's different, and that's new, and that's powerful, and it's going to change the world. But I don't think that the robot enslavement is tomorrow.
Perfect.
Maybe a little later than that.
Yeah, like, we're gonna wait for 2
But
decades.
if it does, I hope they take stable coins.
Yeah. I mean, they should. I mean, if AI takes over, they're gonna do it through crypto.
It would make a lot of sense for them to take stable
Exactly.
coins.
It's digital and quick and
Yeah.
instant.
Yeah.
All right, so now this is more of a not geopolitical, but like, do you think the U.S. will continue to remain, the leader in this space as well? And I do believe that, like, if the approach from, the current administration and the next administration hopefully will remain like this, and but do you think like any other region has what it takes to stand up to the U.S. in terms of,
Yeah, I think it's very valuable that the conference is here in the Emirates. Like it says a lot about where the money is, where the power is in the world. The U.S. is the financial capital of the world, and I don't think that that's going to be changing anytime soon. And so the current administration's viewpoint on crypto is uniquely valuable and uniquely powerful in shaping how crypto works throughout the world. But it would be silly of me to have too much of an American-centric viewpoint. You cannot ignore Asia. That's where so much of the developer activity and the developer power comes from. It's where a lot of the investor base comes from. You go from MENA all the way through Asia. It's too big to ignore, and it's too important to ignore too.
Well, I can tell you, my opinion on this. Like, I just know for sure that Europe, like the EU, is not going to be like a big player.
I think that I probably agree with that viewpoint. Like that, the state of regulation of the EU is uniquely special, and things move deliberately in Europe.
And yeah, and like for the sake of being prudent, maybe we should say that this is not intended for the UK audiences as well.
Yeah, of course. We're gonna get banned if we don't say so. All right.
Now, to wrap it up, I want to hear from you. Like, do you have like a message for the viewers that are watching this, and like what should they look forward to for 2026?
Yeah, I think that, at the moment we're in a bit of a drawdown in the markets, and so it's hard in those moments, especially for people who are earlier on in their crypto journey, to stomach like if they bought the top and now they're down a whole lot. But it's important to take a big view on this space and to understand that the developers are still working. There's been no like this is a conference that is not happening at all-time highs. It's nowhere near all-time highs, but you wouldn't know it from it. And that's not because of any froth or any ridiculous parties or anything like that. It's because of the energy, the excitement for the products that are being built on Solana. Like this whole conference, they do something really unique. They put 5-minute keynote addresses of every product that wants to talk. They go up and they pitch themselves to the audience and they say, this is why we're interesting. And this is why we're interesting on Solana. And so that's a really powerful message that I think we really have to lean back toward when we're looking.
And if like in a parallel world, if you happen to have like 11 predictions on the 2026 report, make sure to say like Hodl will be the next big crypto podcast. Anyway, so yeah, thank you for joining us, and you heard it from the Max Verstappen of crypto research himself. And yeah, thanks again so much for joining us. And
yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
well, thank you.
All right. Bye bye.